What's up, guys? We are on the 21st shelf of my wrestling collection now. Still got these double packs, which is kind of nice. It just sucks that they don't show the matches on the back. So, I mean, you kind of gotta read about it there. You got Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman again. Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens breaking up their tag team. Bayley versus Alexa Bliss. Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt. And then for a kickoff match, you got Enzo and Cass versus the Club. Then you've got the SmackDown show. So Kevin Owens versus AJ Styles for the US title. Shinsuke Nakamura versus Dolph Ziggler. The Viper versus Jinder Mahal, and this is where Jinder Mahal wins the title, which I didn't get. But, yeah. Then we've got another double pack. Extreme Rules and Money in the Bank. Extreme Rules is the Raw pay-per-view. Samoa Joe, Finn Balor, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Bray Wyatt fight to see who will face Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. Then you got the Hardy Boys versus Sheamus and Cesaro, or The Bar is what they'd eventually be called. Alexa Bliss versus Bayley. And then you've got the SmackDown pay-per-view. Charlotte Flair, Carmella, Becky Lynch, Natalya, and Tamina in a Money in the Bank ladder match. New Day against the Usos. Randy Orton versus Jinder Mahal again. Then you got the men's Money in the Bank match. AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Baron Corbin, and Dolph Ziggler. Then you got the Hype Bros versus the Colognes as a kickoff match. And then for the Raw pay-per-view, had Kalisto and Apollo Crews in the kickoff match. Then you've got Great Balls of Fire and Battleground. Great Balls of Fire is the Raw pay-per-view. Oh, and that match, I guess, was to face Brock Lesnar here at Great Balls of Fire, not SummerSlam. Because you got Samoa Joe versus Brock Lesnar, which I'm sure was a great match. I didn't watch this pay-per-view, so I'm going to have to check it out here. And then you got Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman again. Alexa Bliss versus Sasha Banks. Then you got the SmackDown match pay-per-view. Jinder Mahal against Randy Orton. Great Khali shows up, of course, in that pay-per-view. Then Kevin Owens and AJ Styles again. John Cena versus Rusev. Naomi defends her title in a fatal 5-way match. Doesn't say who the women are. But, yeah, that'll do it for that pack. Then you have SummerSlam. Yep, you got Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman versus Samoa Joe, which I'm sure was an interesting match to watch. Then you got Shinsuke Nakamura versus Jinder Mahal, which was a joke. No one, I don't think people were too interested in that. Yep, then you got Alexa Bliss and Sasha Banks. And then you got Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt, which I'm sure, the Demon Bray Wyatt versus, or Demon Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt's character, I'm sure would be very interesting storyline-wise. Then we have No Mercy and Hell in a Cell. Yep, you got Brock Lesnar versus Braun Strowman. Yep, then you got John Cena and Roman Reigns. Alexa Bliss versus Bayley, Sasha Banks, Emma, and Nia Jax. Then you got Apollo Crews versus Elias in the kickoff match. Yep, and then in Hell in a Cell, you got Shane McMahon versus Kevin Owens in a Hell in a Cell. Shinsuke Nakamura versus Jinder Mahal again. New Day defends against the Usos in a Hell in a Cell. See, and that's what kind of defamed the Hell in a Cell for me, as you start seeing matches that shouldn't be in the Hell in a Cell in the Hell in a Cell. And then you got Charlotte Flair and Natalya. So yeah, there's that one. Then we've got TLC. Yep, you got Kurt Angle to team with Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins against The Miz, Sheamus, and Cesaro, and Kane, and Braun Strowman. Yep, and then Asuka makes her debut against Emma. Finn Balor versus AJ Styles, which I guess really tore the house down. Alexa Bliss versus Mickie James. Enzo Amore versus Kalisto for the Cruiserweight title. Then you got Sasha Banks and Alicia Fox as the kickoff match. Then we've got Survivor Series here. They did a great job in making these feel bigger than ever with the brand split again. Kurt Angle, Triple H, Samoa Joe, Finn Balor, and Braun Strowman go head-to-head against Shane McMahon, John Cena, Randy Orton, Shinsuke, and Bobby Roode. Then you got Brock Lesnar versus AJ Styles, which is a match I really want to see. Then you got The Shield takes on the New Day. And Alexa Bliss takes on Charlotte Flair. So yeah, they got brand versus brand pretty much throughout this entire pay-per-view, which is something I really enjoyed, which is why the hard brand split makes sense here. And why I'm kind of upset they always veer away from it lately. This was the last true time they actually had a hard brand split. Then you've got Night of Champions, which is the SmackDown pay-per-view. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn fight for their jobs against Randy Orton and Shinsuke Nakamura, with Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan as guest referees. That should be interesting. AJ Styles against Jinder Mahal, Charlotte Flair and Natalya. Rusev and Aiden English versus the New Day versus Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin versus the Usos. So that could be interesting. Then we've got the Royal Rumble. And this is where Ronda Rousey shows up finally in WWE. Women and men both have a Royal Rumble. This is the first year they did that. Brock Lesnar faces Kane and Braun Strowman in a triple threat match. And I'm sure that's just so that way Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar wouldn't, damage each other's reputation. They'd have someone to beat. AJ Styles against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And then you got the Royal Rumble matches. Yep, and then we got Elimination Chamber and Fastlane. Yep, and now we got the first Women's Elimination Chamber match. So Alexa Bliss versus Sasha Banks, Bayley, Mickie James, Sonya Deville, and Mandy Rose. And then the Men's Elimination Chamber match, Roman Reigns, John Cena, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, Elias, Braun Strowman, and The Miz. The challenger for Brock Lesnar's Universal title. And then SmackDown's pay-per-view, AJ Styles defends his title in a six-pack match against John Cena, Baron Corbin, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Dolph Ziggler. Yep, and then you got Ruby Riott and Charlotte Flair. Randy Orton versus Bobby Roode. That could be interesting. Yep. Well, then you got a kickoff match. Breezango and Ty Dillinger versus Shelton Benjamin, Chad Gable, and Mojo Rawley. Talk about random. Then we've got WrestleMania 34 here. Yep, 480 minutes long. Got the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Cedric Alexander versus Mustafa Ali for the Cruiserweight title. First ever WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal. Yep, and then you got Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle versus Stephanie McMahon and Triple H, which was a fantastic match. AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura was horrible. Not as bad as their pay-per-view or their match at the next pay-per-view, which is Backlash or whatever, where they just kept doing low blows to each other. But yep, then you got Asuka and Charlotte Flair, which was a great match. Yep, then you got Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar again. Undertaker versus John Cena. Yep, and then you got Braun Strowman and a fan from the audience winning the tag team titles. But yeah, that was it was an okay WrestleMania. Then we've got the first Saudi Arabia pay-per-view, the Greatest Royal Rumble. Yep, and this one's 4 hours and 47 minutes long as well. You got the Greatest Royal Rumble ever with 50 superstars, which I'm sure will be fun to watch. Yep, yeah, and then there's a lot of matches underneath as well. You got Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. You got John Cena versus Triple H. Rusev and Undertaker in a casket match. Yeah, so I mean, there's some, this is quite a card right here. And then we've got Backlash. Now they're starting to just do the pay-per-view with both brands on the same pay-per-view. Yep, AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura in their low blow match. Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe, which I'm sure will be interesting. Nia Jax versus Alexa Bliss, and then Carmella versus Charlotte Flair. You got Braun Strowman and Sami Zayn. Then you got Big Cass and Daniel Bryan. So, eh. Then we've got Extreme Rules. Yep, you got the return of Team Hell No versus the Wyatts. You got Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss. Dolph Ziggler and Seth Rollins. Roman Reigns and the returning Bobby Lashley. Yep, and then you got these guys here. Looks like a pretty solid card there. And we got Money in the Bank. Yeah, these things are, they're long even though they're co-branded here. Ronda Rousey and Nia Jax. Samoa Joe versus Braun Strowman versus Finn Balor versus Kofi Kingston, Kevin Owens, Bobby Roode, The Miz, and Rusev for the men's Money in the Bank. Got Alexa Bliss, Naomi, Lana, Natalya, Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, and Ember Moon in the women's Money in the Bank match. Then we've got SummerSlam. Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar again. Ronda Rousey versus Alexa Bliss for the women's title. AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe finally in WWE instead of in TNA. And then Daniel Bryan versus The Miz. off of their feud a few years prior when Daniel Bryan was the GM. Then you've got Hell in a Cell. Braun Strowman versus Roman Reigns in a Hell in a Cell. Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair. AJ Styles and Samoa Joe again. And then Randy Orton and Jeff Hardy. So that looks like it could be a pretty solid show. This is when Brock Lesnar just kind of shows up and interferes in the Hell in a Cell match. Then you've got Super Showdown. Yep, Undertaker and Triple H meet one-on-one. Quite a card here, too. This is those super shows that WWE was getting paid a lot of money for. Ronda Rousey teams up with the Bellas versus the Riot Squad. Samoa Joe and AJ Styles again. The Shield versus Braun Strowman, Dolph Ziggler, and Drew McIntyre. Then we've got Survivor Series again with the hard brand split, which I like. Brock Lesnar versus Daniel Bryan. That's a dream match. Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair. Then you got Baron Corbin's Team Raw with Braun Strowman, Drew McIntyre, Dolph Ziggler, Bobby Lashley, and Finn Balor. Takes on Team SmackDown, which is Shane McMahon, Jeff Hardy, Samoa Joe, and Rey Mysterio, captained by The Miz. Then you got the women's Survivor Series match, Nia Jax, Tamina, Bayley, Sasha Banks, and Mickie James. With Alexa Bliss, of course. And then you got Naomi, Carmella, Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, and Asuka. You got Seth Rollins versus Shinsuke Nakamura. But yeah, 250 minutes in this one, so it's not as long. And then finally we have TLC. We have Becky Lynch against Asuka and Charlotte Flair in a triple threat TLC match. The new Daniel Bryan takes on AJ Styles, and I liked Daniel Bryan as this heel character. Then you got Ronda Rousey taking on Nia Jax. Then Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose for the Intercontinental title, and this is when they started to, this is towards the end of Dean Ambrose here, where they made him a germaphobe weirdo, which sucks, but you know, I guess it is what it is. But that'll do it for this shelf. If you like content like this, please like and subscribe. The support is much appreciated. I'm also over on Letterboxd. The link is over on the profile of this page. Otherwise, until next time, guys.